Congratulations, you've made it. We are in the playoffs. Or if you're not, you're probably in the wrong place because this is for winners, baby. We are talking about the playoffs and getting you to that promised land. We're talking streamers and we're talking stashes for the fantasy playoffs on the Fantasy First Down. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy First Down for Week 15. I'm Ben Wasley, and you guys know the drill by now. We're talking about Week 15 streamers and some guys you should be stashing for Week 16 or 17, especially if you've got a bye this week. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Plus, if you've got any questions, in the comments below is the place to go, or you can hit us up on Instagram at the Fantasy First Down or on Twitter at Fantasy First Down with no O. But let's get into it. We'll start things off with the quarterbacks. And we saw what JJ McCarthy could do against the Commanders. So just imagine what a competent quarterback could do when Jackson Dart puts things together. He's pretty good for fantasy. He's got a great rushing floor, and he averages over 20 fantasy points per game. This is by far my stream of the week. Now, I know Dart's not available in every league, but JJ McCarthy is available in most. He gets the league's best quarterback matchup against the Cowboys this week. I wouldn't start him over more reliable starters, but if you're struggling at the position or dealing with injuries, McCarthy has the most upside of players likely available on waivers. And weirdly enough, JJ McCarthy is also my favorite quarterback stash for the fantasy playoffs, with the Giants and Lions on the schedule for the last 2 weeks of the fantasy season. They are a top 3 and a top 8 quarterback matchup at this stage. McCarthy is worth a stack, even if you don't need him for this week. Running backs, and Woody Marks has been a borderline starter for a while now, and I'm absolutely using him this week. The rookie is the clear starter with Nick Chubb injured, and he gets a fantastic rushing matchup against the Cardinals. Even if someone who has been sitting on your bench for the most part of the season, this is the week to roll him out because he could boom this week in Week 15. Now, if Alvin Kamara remains out, I'm confidently also starting Devin Neal in a top 10 running back matchup against the Panthers. He looked pretty good last week, got plenty of touches against the Bucs, and should get plenty of volume in Week 15 as well. And the Commanders are still using a running back committee situation, but Chris Rodriguez is the clear lead guy. We didn't see Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt until the second half last week, and realistically, you're only seeing McNichols anytime they are in a 2-minute drill or a 3rd and long. So the Giants are the second best running back matchup in football, and Rodriguez will be the main beneficiary in Week 15. He sounds like a good stream to me if you're a little bit desperate at the position, especially in a non-PPR or a half PPR, because his receiving work leaves a little bit to be desired. Stash-wise, and the Rams are intent on resting Kyren Williams for the fantasy playoffs. That is to say, they're resting him for the actual playoffs, but he's not going to play as much during the fantasy playoffs. That won't help you in Week 15, though, against the Lions. But in Week 17, the Rams face the awful Falcons' run defense. Blake Corum could be the guy to stash for the fantasy Super Bowl. And as you guys know, running backs get injured more than any other position, but it's less likely to happen in the last few weeks of the season. So while I am still stashing guys with upside, I think now is the time of the season where you need to think about who you're actually going to start in the final few weeks of the season. If someone's on your bench and they're absolutely not going to get a game without something totally unexpected happening, then you probably should be looking for someone with more upside. So here's some guys who are one injury away from being startable in your fantasy leagues. We talked about Corum, but Chuba Hubbard, realistically, might be even taking over the role from Rico Dowdle. It does seem like a bit of a committee for now, but if Dowdle goes down, Hubbard's going to be very valuable in these last few weeks. Brian Robinson just needs that injury to Christian McCaffrey to be very good. Tank Bigsby will be the main guy in Philly if there's an injury to Saquon Barkley. I also like Malik Davis. He seems like he's going to be the top guy if Javonte Williams goes down. Same situation with guys like Amir Abdullah, Bashal Toot, and Isaiah Davis. They're all one injury away from being very startable for fantasy. Kid Mitchell, assuming he's healthy, is in that same boat. And I feel okay about Ray Davis as well, even though I think we see a fair bit of Ty Johnson in that situation. Wide receivers, and, well, the 49ers pass catchers have been very hard to trust this season, but Juwan Jennings has been an exception of late. He has 4 touchdowns in his last 5 weeks, leading the team in receiver targets and snaps. He gets a great matchup against the Titans and is a good chance of scoring again. And the Vikings have been struggling of late as well, but JJ McCarthy is well and truly back, baby. I can't see Minnesota leading on one wide receiver sets again this week, given they're likely to be chasing the game against the Cowboys. And that should mean a good amount of Jordan Addison in the best wide receiver matchup in football. And assuming Tyrod Taylor's back, and that's a big if, I'm willing to risk Adonai Mitchell in a strong matchup against the Jaguars. He's very risky, but the upside is real. If it's Brady Cook, I know it's a little bit scarier, but he's more of a low-end stream for me in that situation. As for stashes, well, the Chargers face the Cowboys in Week 16. As I just said, that is the league's best wide receiver matchup, with Quinton Johnston and Keenan Allen falling off rosters across the league. I'd be picking them up if you're weak at wide receiver. And with Troy Franklin out as the wide receiver too, Pat Bryant is in Denver. In fact, Troy Franklin isn't even the wide receiver 3 now. He's splitting snaps with Marvin Mims. It is all the rookie Bryant. And he gets a great Week 16 matchup and is worth picking up. For tight ends, well, this one shouldn't need explaining. Harold Fenton Jr. has been great with Shedeur Sanders, and David Njoku appears to be injured. But it doesn't even matter because Fannon's still getting pretty much every down snaps. He's locked into his role. He's locked into his routes. Fannon is an every week starter moving forward. Meanwhile, this guy's been hard to trust, but there's no better tight end matchup than Cincinnati. So Mark Andrews is a must-start tight end, despite how disappointing he's been so far this season. And realistically, Isaiah Likely is also a solid option if you're desperate at the position as well. Now, stashes, well, he's also hard to trust given his drop in snaps in Week 14, but Darren Waller gets that brilliant Bengals matchup in Week 16. I'm rostering him just to see whether his snaps rise this week, making him usable in the semis. If his snaps stay at that low level, then I feel like you probably can't start him or Greg Dulcich, which is disappointing because it's a great matchup for the fantasy semifinal. Kickers and the Jets are an A-plus matchup, and Cam Little is an excellent kicker who's available in about half of leagues. He is one of my favorite streams, definitely my favorite kicker stream for this week. And someone who's available in a lot of leagues is Evan McPherson. There aren't many better matchups than the Ravens, and we know McPherson is a great kicker. It's an obviously good streaming option. As for a kicking stash, I don't love stashing a kicker, but at this stage in the season, if you've got a slightly deeper bench, it does make sense. His Week 15 matchup is mid, but Andy Borregales for the Patriots will be a league winner in Week 16 and 17. I don't love stashing kickers, as I said, but this is an exception. DST, and they've been cheeks this season, but the 49ers DST faces the mediocre Titans this week. That makes them a solid defensive start. You don't trust them. Well, another team that has also struggled defensively at times is Chicago's DST, but they should be able to take advantage of a good matchup against the imploding Browns. Both of those teams, solid options that are available in plenty of leagues. As for a stash, well, New Orleans faces the Jets and Titans in weeks 16 and 17, and they've proven to be solid in the few good matchups they've had. I don't like stashing DSTs, but this is the time of year where it really is sensible. The Saints DST is my favorite stash that's available in most leagues. And that's all we've got for week 15. Good luck for your first round of fantasy matchups, or just enjoy relaxing for the bye week. As always, if you got any questions, hit them up in the comments below, or you can find me on social media. Plus, my rankings will be out soon over at ffdfantasyfootball.com. I look forward to chatting to you guys next week. Hopefully you're still in it. Hopefully we're still talking football as we move towards that fantasy title on the Fantasy First Down.